Good morning, justice seekers. Yay! Hey, Alexa, light off. Too much light, not enough light. Okay, let's just get started. I am so happy to be back on. Please say something if you can hear me so that I know this is working. I just could not get on fast enough. Yesterday was so frustrating for me, and I knew what was going on. So I apologize to those of you out there that did not know what's going on. Yay, you can hear, you can heat Pixie Knickers. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Um, so yeah, as you guys know, I try not to worry about my hair and my makeup and all that. Let me just take this thing off. It looks kind of silly. And I like to try to look a little bit professional, but I like to look casual too. That's what people seem to like about me. I actually had a hoodie on today, my North Star Tahoe hoodie. I was like, that'd be funny if I wore that. Hey girls, hey Mrs. Kelly. So thanks you guys. Thanks for joining me. Um, so as I mentioned in my video that I did live the day before yesterday, it was with this lovely new computer. Hey Ashley Waters. Oh, you're so sweet. Um, and then yesterday I couldn't do live. I had to record, and it was hilarious how much I missed seeing your guys' comments, and I just missed you in general. And then I was having a ton of trouble uploading it. I got it uploaded finally late last night. I spent hours and hours yesterday trying to learn my new device. And I always do better when I have my kids around. The kids are excellent with technology, they grew up with it, and I didn't. So that's my excuse. But once I learn how to use something, I get very adept at it. So hopefully this won't take too long. And I don't like that old computer, so I don't think there'll be a problem of me going back and forth. This one, as somebody mentioned, has much better color. My God, I couldn't believe how beige everything had been in all my videos. And I was like, what can I do to fix that? I didn't realize I just needed the new computer. Although I did, for other reasons. Um, so, truth and justice for Kylie. That is why we are here. Let's just get into it right away because I missed you guys. I'm going to hope that you missed me too. I want to kick some butt on this Kylie Rodney crap. It's really been a shit show from the outset, to put it bluntly. And, sometimes I try not to swear, and other times I'm just like, I just have to. So I thought of something super funny last night. I think it's going to catch on. I don't know if anyone else has thought of it. The Truckee way. I started doing like a little asterisk and then UCKEE way. So like hashtag asterisk uckeeWay. So I'm going to put that in there today. I should have done it already, but I will when I edit. Oh, she looks great in the chair. Woohoo! It's a comfortable chair. So I got a new curtain behind me that is a little faded out. I might try to put something with a little more color in it. Anyway, I know you guys aren't here for the scenery. You're here to get to the freaking truth. And that is my goal. I will not give up on Kylie Rodney. She needs us. She needs justice. She needs reality. That poor girl. Just the whole picture of her life has really been sinking in for me lately. Um, and I'm not saying she had a bad life. There's pros and cons to everything. But she was isolated out there in the woods, and that would be hard on any of us, I think, in my opinion. Everything I say here, simply my opinion. It's all for the sake of discussion and conversation, and hopefully education and entertainment. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to just try to listen without commenting, but wanted to share my frustrations with this case, this poor girl. Oh, you can comment away. I only look up at the comments every so often, so I may not catch them, and I apologize in advance for that. As I get better at this, hopefully that will be less of an issue. But my audience, my subscribers have so much good information. I appreciate you guys so much. Let me ask you a question, and whoever wants to do some sleuthing or maybe already has, if you know how to get into the court systems for Las Vegas, Nevada, Incline Village, I think is the other name of the place in Nevada that Anthony S. Nieman has lived in, and the Truckee Court, which is probably Prosser County Court. I'm not sure. If you want to find out what he was convicted for exactly and when he was convicted and how much time he served, the information that I have cross-referenced from reliable sources, but I haven't been able to look at the documentation myself, is that he had served time for domestic violence, hard time, and that may have been prior to his relationship with Lindsay, hopefully. However, not to be judgmental, but what is true for most people with anger management issues and violence against women issues is that those things are really hard to change for the people who are very motivated and want to change. And for the most part, they don't want to change. They don't freaking care. So, just saying it like it is, in my opinion. Brenda says, "Yay, I caught you live. Made my night here in Australia." Oh, that's so sweet. I could just cry. I swear to God, you guys, I missed you so much. One day, and I was just dying. Mm. And I wanted to get that video up as quickly as possible to explain to you guys. I felt like, my goodness, I get you guys into this routine and then I pull the plug. So I apologize. And hopefully, I have a feeling today we'll have at least two videos. I feel like I lost so much over 24 hours. It's kind of hilarious. So there's this other YouTuber who's got a few more followers than me. I think he's up to over 3,000 right now. And you guys have probably heard of him, but personally, I had seen some of his stuff and I just wasn't getting the groove of it. So I got the groove of it yesterday. Southern Logic is who I'm talking about. So he's had a couple of his podcasts go viral in the last week. One of them is from 6 days ago. It is called Kylie Rodney Ruled Accidental, but I have some questions. Can you answer them for me? And so, like I said, Southern Logic 6 days ago, it's up to about 14,000 views already. It's 15 minutes long. I highly recommend it. It's excellent. He is so on point, and it's just like a grand slam. He's just like on a roll. It's nice when people get their groove on and you can watch them, and it's exciting, you know. He just puts it out there plain and simple. And then another one of his that started to go viral as well, I think it's from 2 days ago, and it's called "The Part of the Kylie Rodney Story Being Overlooked by Everyone. Why?" So that's kind of getting back to the beginning. You know, I don't think it's going to be a problem running out of material to cover on the Kylie Rodney case. I mean, there's so much that has been brushed over, trying to keep up with the bullshit. Speaking of bullshit, um, Kevin Neese, you guys are the ones who told me about him, and I agree, he's really good too. Um, he was on What's the Obsession? Um, let's see, I watched it yesterday and it was from the night before, so the night before last. So fortunately, she's feeling better. She's planning on doing a live tomorrow night, Thursday night. I highly recommend Kelly with Watts the Obsession. She is going to have Dr. Dre Latina on her show, I believe, tomorrow night. I'm hoping that she'll have Kevin back on maybe. And she had this other gentleman. I wish I knew his name. I'll find out and share it with you guys in the comments or something. But the parts that I saw, it was a 3-hour long live, which sounds really long, but it's, believe me, they just kind of have to be that long when you have three people with a lot of good information. So Kelly, Kevin, and this other man spoke so well to this case. And thank goodness she's focusing on it because, she's Watts the obsession. But she's all about justice, and she knows a lot. I've mentioned before, she comes from a family of attorneys, and she's just a really smart woman, a very caring woman, and she knows her stuff, and she has the tools, I think, to help a lot with the Kylie Rodney case. So, I wanted to recommend that for us justice fighters. So I've been saying at the beginning of my episodes, justice seekers, and I'm thinking justice fighters, maybe justice seekers and fighters. I don't know. I'm open to ideas. So I like justice seekers, but I also like justice fighters because it's a fight. Unfortunately, you have to fight for your rights. It's unfortunate. You shouldn't have to. They shouldn't be getting stomped over. So I have a lot of things written down that I wanted to discuss with you. And if you had a chance to catch up on my video that finally got uploaded last night, I apologize. It's not my best one. I think I was just kind of off because I'm so used to going live now. And it's so nice to just be spontaneous and say, okay, I'm going to read this one. Hey, Brenda, I think you would do amazing with a panel of people to throw theories out there. Your brain can open others' minds up. Brenda, that's how I started. One of the reasons I like to give shout outs to Kelly from Watts the Obsession so much is that she was extremely generous with me and invited me to be a special guest on her show. And we didn't really know each other. And I was like, well, I would love to, but why are you asking me? Like, what do I have to say? And she was like, trust me, you have a lot of good ideas. Just come on. And she just like rolled the red carpet out for me. I'm on there as Xena. I'll put in the notes the episodes to go back to. So anyway, the first one that I was on, I thought I did great. I thought that the audience was fantastic, the other people in chat, and it was long. These things are long. The second one I did is a bomb. I'm not even going to mention that one because it was like I'm sitting in bed and the camera was at the wrong angle. It was just ridiculous. Um, but it might have some good things in it. I don't know. I can't even watch it without cringing. And then the third one I did with her, not as a special guest, but just on her panel. And that one went like 5 or 6 hours. And a lot of people were saying that it was the best episode of hers that they ever saw. And I was like, wow, really? That's nice. It's nice to be a part of that. And I felt like I contributed a lot. And let me tell you why. It's not because I'm so freaking brilliant or anything. It's the questions, asking the right questions. Good morning, Dodging Bullets. And Mrs. Kelly says, that's fantastic. She's great, that Kelly. Mrs. Kelly says, she's great, that Kelly. She is on it. Like she gets really specific and she breaks it down. She says what needs to be said. And, we all know that we're not always right. And I like to address the mistakes that I make so that I can correct them and own them. Something that a couple of people pointed out to me just in the last day or two is about Kylie's necklaces. That in the medical field, they do call gold jewelry yellow, and they do call diamonds or crystals colorless. I didn't know that. That's not how we do it in the jewelry industry. So I trust that. That came from a couple of people that said that they were medical professionals. And, I don't mind being incorrect. I really like to know when I'm incorrect. So please don't be shy. Yes, drop the video name so we can all go watch. Yeah, be awesome. So yeah, it's funny because I go on as Xena and then I'm there for 3 episodes, and there's a couple of people that had watched those that are like, Justice A to Z, Xena's back. So, the warrior princess. It's not my real name, but that's okay. It fits, right? I hope. So, yesterday, in the one that I pre-recorded and then finally uploaded last night, I mentioned a few other cases that have caught my attention, and I wanted to focus for a minute on two of them. The Kendrick Johnson, who was 14 years old, murdered at school in the gymnasium during school hours with video cameras everywhere. His father, I'm sorry, the father of the person that is your number one suspect, um, was an FBI agent. The Kendrick Johnson case is crazy, 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 crazy. It was a while ago too, and they're still trying to seek justice. So, somebody said there's a show called Ashes to Ashes that covers the Kendrick Johnson that's really good. When I mentioned it yesterday, I mentioned that I learned about it on Christina Randall. So I haven't ever seen any other Kendrick Johnson documentaries, but I would love to because it's a case that I think needs a lot of attention. Um, so the similarities with the Kylie Rodney case and Kendrick and Garrett Phillips, the other one I want to tie together, is that all three of them have suspects with law enforcement connections. So um, all three of them, in my opinion, are ridiculous, tragic cover ups. Garrett Phillips was 12 years old. He was murdered in his apartment, his mother's apartment that they had just moved into. This was in upstate New York in 2011, I think was the year that it happened. Anyway, HBO did an amazing documentary called Who Killed Garrett Phillips. It kept showing up in my feed, and I was like, I don't know. Why are you asking me? I don't care. And then finally I watched it, and it's great. So good, so sad. This gentleman that they tried to pin the murder on, Nicholas Oral Hillary is his name. He's Jamaican. A wonderful man. He was the head soccer coach at Clarkson University, right there in the town. I think the town's called Potsdam or Potsdam. Anyway, Nicholas had gotten together with Garrett's mother, who had been, when they got together, she was living with her boyfriend, who was a deputy sheriff. So she got together with Nick. She dumped that guy, Deputy Jones, and then for about a year, they were living together with their kids and getting harassed incessantly. So they pretended that they broke up and they moved into separate places, but they were still seeing each other. She's white, he's black. There's a lot of racism in the community. So there was that too, in addition. And, it sounds logical to me. Anyway, it was shortly after they moved into separate places so that people would perceive a breakup when they hadn't really, that her 12-year-old son was strangled to death in their apartment. And then they tried to pin it on Nick, thinking that he was a scorned lover, not realizing that they were still together. Okay? You get where I'm going with this? And guess who was right there to catch her on this horrible day and who was there to console her and control the narrative? Guess who? Um, anyway, that is a really, really frightening case. I don't know the current status. I was looking it up last night and I was hoping to get some good information. But again, tying it in with Kylie Rodney's case, that when you have people connected, especially in these smaller communities, um, that, you know, the corruption is rampant, absolutely rampant. Is that word coming out of my mouth properly? Rampant, rampant. There we go. Anyway, so another a few other cases that I mentioned, and I'm not going to go off on them right now, but Kylie Rodney's case is so important. It's important for Kylie, and it's important for justice everywhere. An injustice anywhere threatens justice everywhere. We cannot continue to allow crooked law enforcement officers to bring down the whole establishment of law enforcement. I'm so passionate about that. Law enforcement is such an integral part of our American society that has so many positive aspects to it. And when there's corruption, it's the most dreadful thing. And it is the worst part to me is how it hurts law enforcement everywhere. You see one Derek Chauvin experience, and you know that there's others out there. You know that that's not most situations, but we can't trust law enforcement the way we thought we could. It's been a common perception in the Black community for a long time, and maybe now with the George Floyd publicity, maybe more people that aren't Black understand what that was all about. Um, Incidentally, I just heard on the news this morning that George Floyd's uh, baby mama, no better way to put it, is suing Kanye West, who now goes by Ye, for $250 million for some horrible things that he said about George Floyd dying of a fentanyl overdose, not a knee on his neck for 8 or 9 minutes. Oh, you're so nice, Miss Kelly. Jazz, we just love listening to you. You are one sharp tack. Rhonda, need more. Yes, I feel like I need more coverage of Kylie Rodney's case. Like I said, there's so much material that I feel like we need to go back and readdress because it was all coming at us a million miles an hour. When you're getting gaslit, it's really hard to focus. That's the whole point. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to like flip everything upside down so you can't see straight. And, in my opinion, life is complicated enough. Like there's just challenges with every little thing. So, in my opinion, it's really easy for anybody to gaslight anybody because even when everyone's doing things appropriately and honestly, it's still hard to keep up. I mean, I have 4 kids, so that's especially true as a mom, but also just in general, even before I had kids. So the Gabby Petito case, the Shannon Watts case, the Suzanne Morphew case, the Sean Dougherty case, and this poor little baby Quentin are all cases that really capture my attention. So I'll probably be tying things in with those cases a lot, I think, with especially Gabby Petito, because that was only a year ago. There's too many similarities. There may or may not be a connection, but there are definitely parallels between the two cases, between the two victims, between the two deaths, between the two geographic locations, um, the national parks, a whole bunch of other stuff. Shanann Watts is also one that I have a lot of heartache over because of the children. 3 children, one unborn baby, and 2 adorable, precocious toddlers. And Suzanne Morphew, that was insane. The whole Mother's Day crap and the fake bike crash thing, and just a fiasco. And I don't feel like there's been justice in any of these cases, including Shanann Watts, including Gabby Petito. Um, but Sean Dougherty, 12 years old, he died in March, and I guess it happened in Virginia. I was thinking it was further down south. And I thought it was at a friend's house, but I guess it happened in his own backyard. Like he was found hanging, and he didn't have his glasses on. He was a kid who wore glasses. And there's just a lot of questions there. And like I've said, I haven't focused on it simply because it makes me want to throw up. These young kids getting murdered. It's really hard. I admire the people that can focus. Oh, baby Q. Oh my goodness. That's a cute name for Quentin. He is freaking adorable. And then Summer Wells, too. Talk about adorable, and the neglect and the suspicion and the crap. Man, these people are so out of control. Like, how can you do this to these beautiful, precious, little tiny people? Like, come on, folks. So, let's see. I mentioned too about the love triangles with, say, like, well, even in the Garrett Phillips case, but the Kendrick Johnson, potentially Kylie Rodney, um, obviously Shanann Watts, and anyway, let's just stay focused on Kylie Rodney right now. The love triangle. I remember as a teenager learning that in Brazil, crimes of passion were not prosecuted because it was understandable that if you found your partner cheating on you, that you would have to kill people. I mean, I was kind of horrified as a teenager, not knowing much about the law and justice and this kind of thing. I kind of understood where they were coming from, but as I got older, I realized how sexist that is too, because the violence is usually against women. And no, I mean, being cheated on is awful, and you might want to kill people, but you certainly shouldn't, right? I mean, if somebody's cheating on you, you're better off without them anyway, in my humble opinion, right? Um, yeah, it's some crazy shit. Absolutely crazy shit. So, we had the love triangle potentially with Kylie and Jagger and Kate, and or potentially a love square if you throw Sammy in there too. Or other potential Nates or something. Those potential Nates really need to be looked at. Oh my God. There's so many of them, and people get so confused. People think there's like one or two, and I'm pretty sure there's six that I've listed, and I'll run through them really quickly if you guys want to help me out. I think there's two Nate H's. Nate Hambrecht is allegedly the one that Kylie was involved with at the time of her death, who also had a history with Sammy, and whose father and grandfather are so high up in the financial community, not just of Truckee, but of our country. These people are connected. They are the they are the 1% of the 1%. Okay, the Hambrechts, Nate Hambrecht's dad and grandfather. People would say, "Oh, Nate Hambrecht's father worked for the California forest fire crew." No, he has oversight of everything, including that. He has oversight of everything. That's just one little thing that the man has complete power over and a huge influence over. Okay. One little thing. Get that straight. Nate Hambrecht. Also, the family lives up there by Donner Pass where that whole tragedy happened. And unless it's changed, there's not a lot of houses up there. Like, people don't want to live up there because, first of all, it's creepy. Second of all, it's hard to get to, somewhat impossible if you live miles down a dirt gravel road that is covered with snow and ice and water all the time. So, okay, so Tasloff, I can't remember the other Nate H, but I think I've heard it once before. But Nate Tasloff, Nate Cabacunia, which was the one that was arrested on August 10th as a suspect for the 15-year-old girl's overdose death with Percocet and fentanyl in Roseville. So Tasloff, Cabacunia, H, Hembrecht. Sammy Smith has a brother named Nate, allegedly. So Nate Smith. And then one other, I'll think of it. Wu, most importantly, Nate Wu, whose father is Sheriff Wayne Wu for Placer County. I'm so glad that rereading of the affidavit that I did a week or so ago, I did it the earlier in the day, the same day that the autopsy was released. So Thursday, a week ago today. The last time I checked, it had way over 8,000 views, which was amazing. Again, my fourth video ever was a reading of that same affidavit, and it probably has about 650 views still. Even though I kept trying to refer people to it, not for the clicks, not for the likes, just for the information. Like, if you want to look up the affidavit and read it yourself, that's great. But keep spreading the word on people getting that affidavit. It's so important. Hambrecht, Hurst. Oh, Good job, Kiki Ray. Excellente. And yeah, I don't know who Nate Tesloff is. Thank you. I said Tesloff. Kabakungan. I don't know if I'm probably not saying that right. Kabakungan. Yeah, I've checked the spelling on all of them, but getting the enunciation. So we got the two H's, the T, the woo, the Kabakunyan, and then maybe a Smith. Is that it? Possibly. Oh my God, Nate Kabakunga. Sorry if I'm hacking up that name. Has court tomorrow. What a quinky dink. Holy crap. And maybe we'll learn more. Like maybe we'll learn some of the particulars. It could just be a hearing where there's not much information revealed. But I'm really wondering if it might have happened at a party. Please hit that like button for our Justice Gal. Thank you for reminding me, Pixie Knickers. It's really good for the channel and the algorithm if you hit the thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And please share. If you're sharing these videos, it makes a huge difference in the algorithm. And it's all about algorithm. I saw a comment this morning on one of my videos. I think it was a troll. I'm not sure. But it was a guy, and he just said, like, how did you get so many subscribers? And maybe 2 question marks. So that's why it seemed kind of trollish, like that he was saying, you're not very good. How did you get so many subscribers? I'm not sure. But I responded with, I have a no troll policy, no troll tolerance, basically. And, you know, I've got great subscribers. That's how. I mean, thank goodness, right? It's not like I bought a bunch of bots or something. I mean, I'm amazed. I am truly amazed that it's way over 2,000 and it's only been, we're coming up on a couple of months almost. It's been about 7 weeks. So yeah, you know, I didn't come out on the interweb to create trouble. I came out on the interweb to try to find justice for Kylie because other cases that I've gotten interested in, I felt like we're getting really good coverage. This case, there was just parts of it that were missing to me when I finally got off my rear end and started my channel. And, you know, lo and behold, there's a lot of information I think that I've contributed to the bigger picture of what I call the crowdsourcing. You know, we're all working together. It's so awesome that we can put that information out there. Like the person who brought up the all the Nates and the court date tomorrow. So let's keep an eye on that and let's see, because if there is a connection with Nate Kabakunga and Kylie's death, it puts the focus back on the Placer County Sheriff's Department dragging their feet when they know they had a dead girl. They knew that they had a Nate administering a fatal dose of a drug to this 15-year-old, and he's 20. And they also knew that he sexually assaulted her, which is so freaking gross. Like, was that before, during, or after she was dead, or all the above? I mean, absolutely disgusting. Like, people just need to control themselves and find consenting partners. And if you can't find a consenting partner, just go. I mean, the assaulting people, especially people younger than you, people that you have power over, like teenagers that go on a ride along and you're the deputy sheriff. So that deputy sheriff is what that affidavit is about. And that man is the sheriff now. And they had to do an early election because the last sheriff just basically had it and pretty much walked off the job and kind of appointed the current sheriff. Although it is technically an election, he got a big endorsement from the guy who quit. And so even though the guy quit, people took him at face value and said, oh, okay, we'll vote for this guy, allegedly. But I think they're having the real election of that same process that happened in the spring, right around the same time the affidavit came out, which was May 15th, 2022. So I think it was in May that he was sworn in as sheriff, and now November 8th, they're having an election. So I think he still has to get reelected, technically, I think. So it seemed to me, and I think some others early on, that they were choosing the November 1st date so that this whole thing with Kylie's case would kind of be wrapped up and resolved before the election, like right before the election. And then come to find out that they're hoping to open their ski resorts on November 3rd, which is much earlier than normal, in my understanding. Um, so let's see. Kiki Ray says, Kelly, of course I will let you know. Kiki, my last comment was meant to be addressed to you. I forgot to post your name first. Sorry, but thanks for following the Nate case. Yes, thanks, you guys. Brenda says, apparently 11 parents are law enforcement. It's up to 11 now. Doesn't surprise me. There's a lot to take control and direct the community in a way to protect them all. And it doesn't just protect the kids, obviously, it protects the parents. And this sounds like a community where parents are overly permissive with their children to be sexually promiscuous and um, using drugs and alcohol. And, that's kind of a teenage thing. Like, of course, all teenagers want to run with that, right? And it's our job as parents to teach them how to be responsible and safe and to keep them safe and to say no and to put our foot down. Um, I do wonder what will happen when Don Wells gets released. Oh my God, I know. I know. Um, So in my video yesterday, I was addressing a little bit about the sale of the lodge, the Lost Trail Lodge. And, in all reality, like who would want to stay there with this bad juju going on? Um, Maybe if it's in the hands of a new owner and has all new staff or something. But with the current situation, that really puts a wet towel on everything. I mean, sure, if it was an accident, then it was an accident, and that's why they want it to be an accident. There's so much evidence that says, no way was this an accident. No way. So let's see, we're already up to the 37 minutes. I mentioned yesterday, I want to mention again and again the weaponizing honor and kindness that Miss Lindsay Nieman Rodney did in that Kylie memorial uh, delivery to the camera. That was so disgusting. I tried to cut that woman a lot of slack. Like, okay, she's got misdirected anger and hostility. Understandable. She's in pain. But to try to turn such wonderful things as honor and kindness into weapons against people that care is absurd. It's not only absurd, it's disgusting. It's really, truly disgusting. So, I always like to give things time because it's not so much what people do, what people say, or what happens. It's how we handle what we do and say and what happens. It's the aftermath, I think, that defines people's characters and defines experiences. So I'm also curious if Miss Lindsay Nieman Rodney has basically been blackmailed by the Truckee way. Like, it's our way or the highway, lady. You either roll with it or we shut you down, right? I mean, blackmail is blackmail. Um, so the school bus photograph that I mentioned from a couple days ago, you guys have probably seen that school bus where Anthony S. Nieman is driving, and it looks like an old school bus, and it says Lost Trail Lodge on the side, painted on it. And there's just one passenger that you can see in the photograph, and it's a young Kylie, maybe around 9 years old, maybe 10. Um, her face looks so sad, and she's got a hat on, and it's behind this foggy window, and she's just staring, like, dead at the camera, totally deadpan. It reminds me so much of concentration camp photographs. It's striking. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, um, I'll try to find that photograph actually and use a bigger image so you can see the whole bus. I'll try to use that as the thumbnail for this. Because it really, really spoke to me over the next couple of days. I thought it's not just that she looks like a concentration camp hostage, but the irony of it being a school bus, and she's not given the opportunity to go to school, and maybe she was down with that as a kid, but certainly that really affects a child's social skills and their social life. So, if she was homeschooled from the time she was 7 until she graduated at 16, of course she wanted to graduate early, right? I mean, can you imagine being holed up with your mother, father, and a baby brother for the majority of your life, for more than half of your life? I mean, that's, I think, probably how she got to be such an amazing musician. And so there's that. There's always good in any situation. There's always bad in any situation. So I'm I'm not judging. I mean, initially when I first heard about this case and heard about the Lost Trail Lodge and how remote it was, I thought, "Wow, that's cool," right? And then the more learning about how remote it is, because it kind of was introduced up front, then kind of forgotten about, and just like, "Oh, it's just up this dirt road." It's like, yeah, in the summer, it's just up this dirt road. It's still gonna take you 20 minutes probably to travel the 4 miles of that dirt road because you're not gonna be able to go very fast. So you're gonna try to not have to go back and forth too many times in a day, like maybe once, if that. And then in the winter, apparently, there were times where they could not get out for weeks on end, and the only way people would get in or out was snowshoes, cross-country skis, or snowmobiles, and I've mentioned before, they're an avalanche country. You know, you can't just go snowmobiling around and dropping your helicopter on any pad you want. You're gonna create avalanches, so you have to be very careful and selective. um, I hope someday Lindsay comes out of the fog of grief soon and sees the truth for what it is. I homeschooled my kids, and now they are extremely well-adjusted adults with families and great careers. And thank you for saying that, Louise, because I love the idea of homeschooling. I have 4 kids. You know, I've discussed it with them at various points in time. Each of them have at times considered it, and I've considered it. And of course, with COVID, we kinda all were doing it, and I can see that, yeah, there's some major, major advantages to it, and especially if it's done right, which, you know, I'm not sure that everybody does it right. I mean, there's a lot of people going to public schools that aren't necessarily doing it right too, correct? Like I said, there's always a flip side to everything. Ashley Walter said, "Love that you bring an inside opinion because of you going there. It does help paint the picture for us. Thanks, Jazz." Exactly. It took a while before it dawned on me, and then over time, it dawned on me more and more how much that actually is extremely relevant. And the fact that they built their beautiful lodge up there is a very interesting choice. You know what? I'm gonna guess, this is brand new in my brain, that maybe the land was a good price because it's so high up and because of the tragic history. The story that I've come across online is that the granddad first found that property in maybe like 96 or the early 90s, and then he was able to buy a small portion of it, like 2.5 acres, in 1998. And then he didn't open the lodge until I want to say 2007. Would that be right? Let's see. Kylie would have been born in '05. I think. There was that whole thing with the '05, '06 and getting her birthday wrong. Um, so I have a son who is 18, who was born in '04, and he was born in July, or I'm sorry, June. I have another son who was born in July of '07. So the son that was born in '04 just turned 18, and so Kylie was just turning 17. So she was born in '05. And then they moved in when she was 7, so that would be 2012. So, yeah, I think that it might have opened in '07, and um, then they moved in there in 2012. So, Kylie was 2 when her grandfather opened up the lodge, and then, her mother and her mother's new husband and her moved into it when she was 7 in, 2012, would that be right? And then, yeah, that was about 10 years ago, and she would have just turned 17 in September. So, she lived there for most of her life, but when she moved in there, had she gone to school before? Had she gone to like a daycare or preschool or kindergarten or first grade? Um, my guess is that that might even be where she met Mags and Kate. That might be that she met them in a school setting, because I think that both of them have known her since she was 7, I think. Um, due to misinformation, of course, I'm not going to quote anything. That's just consistently what I've seen on online, is that they knew her from the time that they were in second grade. I think the date on that first article that I'd seen, the lodge, was 2012, as far back as I found. Right, that's when they moved in. That's when the Rodney Nieman family moved in. But I'm pretty sure the grandfather finished it and opened it in '07. And reminding everybody, because I've only said it once in one of my videos, that he built his own water system out there and his own power system. And he had owned a public water company in Truckee area for 30 years. I think it's called like Lake Tahoe Water or something like that. But it was one of the major main public companies. He owned it from the '80s, I think, until somewhere around 2015-ish, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not even 100% sure that he's totally out of the water business. Um, and, it sounded like it was a really sticky mess to get into. It was a really sticky mess to work with, because you're dealing with government contracts, you're dealing with politics, you're dealing with forestry, you're dealing with Native American land, you're dealing with a lot of different jurisdictions. And so there's just a lot of trouble to be contended with, and lawsuits, a lot of lawsuits. So, yes, he did. Smart man, that grandpa. He's incredibly smart. Yeah, and incredibly independent. They're squeezing him out. Grandpa sounds like a genius. Yeah, he's kind of what I think of as like a Renaissance man. And it sounds like Kylie's biological dad and him are business partners. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure on the information that I've seen. Um, and we do know that they have a tight alliance. Like, it was kind of confusing that that was her mother's father, not her father's father. Mm. And I'm really close to 100% sure, so tell me if you guys have different information, that the lodge was in the grandfather's name up until it went into the dad's name. So, trying to remember their names. Robertson is the granddad. That's his last name. Is it David Robinson? And then the father's last name is Rodney, and I want to say Daniel Rodney. Anyway, let's just go with Mr. Robertson, and Mr. Rodney, because we know their last names. So Mr. Robinson, I'm not saying it right. Mr. Roberts is Lindsay's biological father, So Mr. Rodney's father-in-law or ex-father-in-law, but they're still very tight. So those were the two that came running to the shoreline as soon as AWP identified that her vehicle was there. And then there was a man with them who had very long arms that had tattoos all the way down to the hands of both arms, and his face is blurred out. And that is one of the main catfish crew people. I don't like to mention names. He's the guy who released those fire cams, the video footage from the fire cams. And if that video footage had been there all along, law enforcement should have been aware of it all along. If they failed to be aware of it, that's insane. And they also should have seen the vehicle if it was there all along. So those are things that are covered really well in that Southern Logic video that I mentioned at the beginning. I'm going to try to make sure there's nothing else I want to throw into this one. I'm already up to 50 minutes. And let's see. I wanted to mention the concept of gambling, being that we have a close proximity to Reno, and then the history with Vegas for Kylie's stepdad. And if there's a gambling addiction, that's a huge black hole for financial difficulty, right? There's a lot of people that have gambling addictions and that have major financial issues because of that. I hope that the grandpa and dad speak out. Justice and truth for Kylie. Absolutely. The dad and the grandpa, one of the reasons I was bringing that up again is because I wonder if there is some type of retribution with the grandfather's grandkid, Kylie. I hate to say that. I hate to think that there would be anything that disgusting, but allegedly, apparently, Sammy Smith's mother was one of the lawyers in one of these giant lawsuits, and Kylie's granddad was on the opposite side, so the plaintiff and the defendant. And I was curious about the relationship between grandfather and bio dad since they always seem to be together. So the lodge went from being in granddad's name to being in the biological dad's name, I think. I'm pretty sure those are the documentations that I've come across online. Do we know the grandfather's age and health? He seems pretty young and healthy. I want to say he's about 60, maybe. He seems like he's in perfect health. Seems like Lindsay might be about 40. And I'm not sure. Kylie's father, he looks kind of young. He looks like he might be even a little bit younger than 40. Gotta run to store. Everyone have a fabulous day, as Kylie would say. That's cute. I didn't know that was something she would say. I like that. Hope I make it back in time. If not, I'll catch you all on the next one. Everyone stay safe and warm. Yes. I'm going to be wrapping this one up in a few, and then hopefully I'll have the wherewithal to get back on again, because I feel like I missed you guys so much. I don't want to fall out of sync. Brenda, they respect and like each other. Absolutely, which is so great. Ever heard of Ulysses Robertson? No letter T. I don't think I have. Is that like the granddad's dad or something? I'll look that up. Brenda, and they think the same and both loved Kylie dearly. Right. They were both highly suspicious right away. Like they were dropping the F-bomb right away. Like how in the fuck did they not see that car right there? I mean, they were pissed, and I think they were spot on, of course. Ulysses Robertson, Lake Tahoe murderer. What? Hopefully there's no relation. I mean, it's a pretty common last name. Wow. And I'll look that up. Good morning. Sorry I was late. No problem, T-Berries. The grandpa is Lindsay's dad, isn't he? He is. He's Lindsay's biological father. The grandpa's last name is Robertson, and Lindsay's maiden name is Robertson. And then she got married and was married to Rodney. I think that's Daniel Rodney. And so she was Lindsay Rodney. And then after the divorce and getting remarried, she goes by Rodney Nieman. Thank you. No letter T. All right. I keep checking your page yesterday to see if I missed you. Hopefully you found when I uploaded last night. It was late. It was like 9 o'clock, 9:30 by the time I finally got it uploaded. It was ridiculous. AWP had Nieman contacts, which confuses the heck out of me. Anyone make sense of it? I think that the Nieman contact was an aunt. So they get the name of one family member to contact in the event of newsworthy information. And then that one family member has the responsibility to disseminate the information throughout the family. So the person that they called, whose name they had, was either the aunt or the grandmother, because they spoke with both on the phone. The aunt was the first one they spoke with, and then I think she handed the phone over to the grandmother, and they were both so distraught. Like they were, you know, very genuine and authentic and real. So then that information got relayed to family members. That's what AWP was trusting. I do know, though, from some of the podcasts that I've listened to, that the guy with the tattooed arms was hanging out with the dad and the grandpa, and he got a phone call or a text about Kylie being found before they were contacted by their family members. So he was the one who actually told them what had happened. And he's the guy who says that, he is just there because he's got a big heart and he cares about everybody. And he's very sus, in my opinion. Thank you confirming that I thought it was her dad, which speaks volumes when you realize that it was Lindsay's dad there at the lake with Kylie's dad, and they were supporting each other. Right. And, the stepdad has a history of being an ex-con, and I believe that he had a growth facility of his own, or has a growth facility of his own. I'm not 100% sure, but it sounds like that they have a farm and that, that's what people farm there. That's where the money's at. So, and it's legal. It's legal in California to grow your own marijuana. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it's gotten legal a lot of places. And it's a very important aspect, actually, because as it's gotten legal in more states, the state of California has taken a huge hit financially because they used to be almost a monopoly in the continental US as far as marijuana growth. Humboldt County has always been the place, and then Tahoe, you have all that water and sunshine. Stuff's going to grow really well there. So I'll read a few more of these comments and then wrap it up. But it wasn't a Rodney or Robertson. Just seems so odd, Those calls were the most touching part of the original release. I don't think it's odd if it was the aunt that everybody agreed wanted to be the go-to, and it was the stepdad's sister, maybe, with that last name. Some people just might not have wanted that responsibility of then having to call everybody with that horrible news. Because that's what the responsibility is when you sign up for it. And telling people that kind of news is not easy. It's much, much harder than you can even imagine. I've had to do it a couple of times, and it absolutely sucks. I saw some posts in his name on a couple channels. It's possible it was a troll person, maybe, not sure, but it said, "What happened to my granddaughter?" And it was on a reputable channel. Good to know. Yeah, I've heard stuff like that. Thank you for confirming that I thought it was her dad, which speaks volumes when you realize it was Lindsay's dad there at the lake with Kylie's dad, and they were supporting each other, and that they were on standby. I think they were like camping out in a RV, like right there on the shore. So it took them maybe a minute or two to ride their ATV right to where AWP was. Like they were there in a heartbeat. They weren't going out to lunch to have sushi when, Kylie's missing and there's a search on. Like, most people's mind is just not gonna be like, "Oh, let's go out to lunch." Um, Not to be judgy. Wow, stepdad. Yeah, stepdad. I think we need to look at him. Like, so another important thing about Anthony S. Nieman is that the granddad and the father probably weren't too keen on Lindsay marrying an ex-con and then having Kylie living with an ex-con. I mean, who would be? Again, not to be judgmental, because some people are wrongfully convicted, and some people that aren't wrongfully convicted are able to turn their lives around. But the fact is that the recidivism rate on criminals is super high. And when they go to prison, they often learn how to become better criminals from the other criminals that they're hanging out with, unfortunately. Um, Let's see. I don't feel like he was involved at all. I'm not indicating that I have any suspicion of father or grandfather, but I do suspect the potential of some revenge or retribution towards the grandfather from people that were involved in lawsuits against him. That's just an idea. I'm not stating that there's any facts there at all, other than the fact that there were lawsuits and that there are people in that community still who may have a lot of hostility towards him. And then, especially with him building that wonderful place and being so independent, that would have pissed some people off. I mean, a lot of times the haters are the people that are jealous, right? AWP wasn't able to get Lindsay's details. Another family like auntie and grandma got called. Dad and grandfather were there on site. Right. Lindsay didn't want them to contact her. And, they're going to respect that, of course. Stand-up guys, it seems, Joanne, right? Joanne Murdoch says, as for Jagger, day one, he said, Kylie, I'll be the one that finds her. Yeah, Jagger, I still think he's sus. I still don't buy this whole we cleared Jagger. Like, why in the heck are you clearing anybody if it's a car accident? Nobody needs to be cleared if Kylie was driving her car and had an accident all by herself. Why? Like, he's suspicious. He's made so many suspicious comments and acted so suspiciously, sleeping with her friend. That's why I was bringing up the whole thing with like crimes of passion. People go nuts when they're in love triangles. People go absolutely insane, right? We all know that. Do you know if those two camped out while Ellie was searching, or did they just set up camp when AWP came? I don't know. That's a really great question. I would bet that they just camped out there the whole time. That's a really good question. And also, somebody brought up in some of the comments about how Kylie maybe wasn't staying at home lately, and that's why she had a lot of stuff in her car. And, she wasn't planning on sleeping at home that following night when she was planning on going camping with her friends. And that person making those comments said that they may have heard that she had filed for emancipation. I don't know if there's any validity to that at all. If people want to look into that and then get back on here later today. So I'm going to wrap it up. We're over an hour and 3 minutes. Let's see. Jazz, where are Jagger's parents' family? He's acting bizarro living with Lindsay, dyeing his hair, wearing her jewelry. Oh, I've missed the dyeing the hair and wearing the jewelry. Oh no. God. He is bizarre. In my opinion, he's extremely suspicious. I think because Kylie was moving on, was it Nate H, and he was wild. Yep. Okay, you guys. Let's plan on trying to meet up here again, maybe at around 1 o'clock today. I'll try to be as accurate as I can, 1 o'clock, with getting back on and chatting with you guys and getting more information. So thank you. Remember to drink your water, eat your veggies, eat your fruit, eat your protein, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, take it easy, breathe, get some fresh air and sunshine, some exercise and stretch, and keep fighting for justice. So I'll see you in a little bit. Thank you guys so much. You're awesome. Totally awesome.